All right, Dolphin fans. So now, what I want to do, what I want to do, because I'm in a real shit mood this morning. Oh, there goes the video. Can't be monetized. Good thing we're not monetized. So
Mm,
what I want to do is go on a rant. But when you look at the schedule before the season and you start drawing it up, and you look at Buffalo and you look at Philadelphia on Sunday night, you kind of go, eh. And then you look at the rest of the games, you look at it and you go, all right, well, we could be and should be 5-2 at the end of that streak. And wouldn't you know it, that's where we are. So that said, I mean, I don't know about you, but I am as impressed with the Eagles as the refs were. A perfect game, bro.
mhm.
A perfect game. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't ever want to be someone who complains about the refs. I don't think anybody necessarily does because
Yeah.
even when you're right, it sounds like you're bitching. For prime example, Saints Rams NFC Championship.
Right.
Clearly the worst call in playoff history. It cost the Saints a shot at the Super Bowl.
Right.
But there's still some people that say, oh, well, the Saints had overtime. They could have won in overtime, and they didn't.
Right.
Breeze threw a pick. And even though if the correct call was made, the Saints were just going to go to a knee and the game was
Yeah.
over, that overtime is irrelevant. But still, people will say that, right?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't matter how obvious the bad call is.
Right.
You still sound like you're complaining. That
Right.
being said, there has never, ever, 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 ever been a football game where a team did not commit a penalty. And for anybody that tries to bring up game where from whatever, no, that's not what I'm saying. If there was a game where there wasn't a penalty called, the refs fucked up. It doesn't
Exactly.
happen. It doesn't
Exactly.
happen.
Right.
I'm not saying they were in it for the Eagles. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Goodell had money on it. I'm saying they
Yeah.
fucked up.
Look, it was so bad. Now, this strap in for this one. It was so bad that when you go to Twitter, there's multiple Jets fans with threads and multiple Jets fans beneath in the threads, all in agreement that I'm a Jets fan and I need the Dolphins to lose, but they're getting jobbed right now. Now that's Jets fans agreeing with Dolphin fans.
That was us a couple weeks ago when the Jets played the Chiefs.
Yeah,
And Mahomes' pick got taken off the board because
right.
Mahomes can't throw 3 picks in a game.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
we were all like, I mean, fuck the Jets, but the Jets
Right.
got fucked.
Right. Yeah. No, it's getting so bad, and it's happening to every team at some point or another is experiencing it so much that everybody's just kind of like, yeah, you too, yeah, me too. I mean, pretty soon you're going to have AOC and Kevin McCarthy agreeing that the
Mm.
refs in the NFL are bad. You know what I'm saying?
And the shit end of it is Eagles fans can turn around at the exact same time and say, we got cost a Super Bowl by the
Right.
refs.
Right.
So it's like that's what I mean, where it's like no one's in it for the Eagles. No one like Goodell doesn't have money on the Eagles. It's
Right.
just ineptitude that unfortunately we were on the short end of the stick for the ineptitude. However, to the refs' credit, they did throw a couple penalties on the Eagles in which we ended up retaliating
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
no more penalty on the board.
Right.
So
Right.
they tried to throw us one or two.
Yeah. Um, to me, because Kyle and I were talking about it, and it was a combination of everything. But to me, I'm getting a little I don't know if the word is queasy, but both games this year where we've played defenses that really challenge our offense, McDaniel's play calling has been, shall we say, smelly armpit.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before. The boy genius is sometimes too much of a genius for his own
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be that. It could be we were already going into that game without Armstead,
I know.
without Connor, and then we lost more people. We were
Right.
always worried about Eichenberg being in the game at all. Now Eichenberg's like the most seasoned lineman we
I
have at
know.
this point. That's
Yeah.
Going into a game where both Liam Eichenberg and Eli Apple are starting, that's another story.
Right.
But he could be doing it for that reason too, like going into it like, I gotta get points somehow, and I gotta get to it not killed. So let's get a little creative.
Right.
But the brass tacks of it looks like, yeah, we've played two good teams with two good defenses, and we've lost considerably to both of them. That's what it looks like at the end of the day.
And look, the NFL. I mean, last week the Browns, best defense in the league, shut down Brock Purdy and the 49ers. And then they let Gardner Minshew put 38 up on them yesterday. I mean, you can't make it make sense from week to week a lot of the times. I mean, 99 times out of 100, Buffalo's going to beat the Patriots. You know what I mean? So it was an NFC opponent. We didn't lose ground in the division. But I will say this, and this is actually something I thought about making a video about. This is a little bit off topic, but the Jets are now 3-3. And Kyle and I were talking about it earlier, and it's like, what if Zach Wilson gets them to like a 10-win season and they make the playoffs, and then they yank them and put Rodgers in after Wilson does the whole season and Rodgers is ready for that one playoff game, and then they pull the rug out from that. That's a legitimate.
Ask Earl Morrell how you feel about that.
What's that?
Ask Earl Morrell how you feel about that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Who cares if you're undefeated? Bob's coming back in.
That's a good point. Yeah. But the flip side to that is the Music City Miracle. Mm-hmm. Because that was Doug Flutie that got the Bills into the playoffs, and then they yanked him and put Rob Johnson in, and karma is a bitch. So speaking of karma, did you see the little spot I put in the about the tush push? About the tush push. Yeah.
For karma for Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, it's I mean,
best Dolphins quarterback between Marino and Tua, Ronnie Brown.
Yeah. Well, Cleo Lemon now, come on, bro. I mean,
Oh man!
Don't forget Josh. Don't throw Josh Rosen under the bus. All right.
No. If we're being serious, guys.
No, I think Ronnie Brown might have been better than those two guys, actually.
Oh no, he was. He was the best one. It's Ronnie Brown, Chad Pennington, Jay Fiedler. Duh.
Yeah. All right. I'll go with. I won't. It's what the fact that the line there between sarcasm and reality is you can't really tell says all we need to know. Really. You know what I mean?
Ronnie Brown made a Pro Bowl playing quarterback. I understand he was still listed as a running back at the Pro Bowl.
Right.
But that season, he made the Pro Bowl playing quarterback.
Yeah, no lie. So look, the unfortunate part is really, I mean, the defense didn't give us a bad game.
They really did it with Eli Apple starting. Like, I blame the offense for that. They didn't put up enough points because the defense put up 7 of them for them.
Right. And then, of course, to me, between McDaniel's play calling, the injuries, the penalties, all of that, still, we had a chance to tie the game until that interception from Tua, where he says it was just underthrown. But, man, nobody's open. You watch that replay, and Waddle's right there, and both guys are blanketed. And that's one of the things with the play calling. It's like, when it works, it's beautiful. But, man, there's just sometimes when on that drive, just get your 5-7 yards at a time at a clip and just get the points. Mm-hmm. It's great when he throws those passes like he did the one to Tyreek, and you're like, holy crap, right? A 35-yard drop in a bucket dime. But the flip side to that is when you're already going back and throwing to a spot, sometimes the throw to Mostert is going to happen.
It's interesting that we talked about it a couple weeks ago about when we were talking about Gesicki. It was after the Patriots game about route running and how that's a big part of getting open. It's not necessarily speed. Now you see that with Mostert. I'm not saying Mostert's a bad route runner. I really haven't watched enough to really give a strong opinion on that. Right. What I am saying is I know Mostert's fast as shit. Yeah. And I know that Mostert's hardly ever open despite being fast as shit.
Right.
It just goes to show you that it's not just speed to get someone open. Route running is a lot to do with it. And I just thought that was interesting. Noticing that. And like I said, I don't necessarily know if that's Mostert's problem, but the clues say it might be.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
still a great running back. I mean, if that's
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing about his game, whatever. We got plenty of other guys to catch the ball, but maybe don't set him on a deep route in a very important part of the game if you know
right.
that's one of his weak points in his game.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's
That's I think that's the point is that's not the route at the time for what
set your
for
guys up for success.
right, you know. And of course, Tyreek had the one drop. It was one drop. I know people think it was two, but on the second one, I believe that ball got kind of knocked out of his hands by the defender. And you got to give the Eagles credit. I mean, they're a good team. They played good,
They're good.
And I know the narrative is we can't beat a good team, but I would like to put an asterisk next to that. And I would like to say, well, part of that is because in years past, we would get one or two good teams in September and October at 1 o'clock in Miami, and then we would beat good teams. And now the two good teams we played, I mean, at Buffalo, at Philly, I mean, the odds of winning both of those games is like 10%. You just, you know,
Yeah, I mean, even if you're sending Kansas City to Buffalo at Philly, they're not. They're gonna lose that more often than they win. Like it doesn't matter who you're sending over. That's a really good team. It's at their place. We're hurt. I mean, all of that sounds boring to say on a YouTube recap, but it's the God's honest truth. We were starting Liam Eichenberg and Eli Apple. The person we fear the most on both sides of the ball started the game. We knew going into it they were playing. I mean, we did pretty good. We did pretty good.
Like I said in a recap, it's not just the injuries. It's we had one of the best left tackles in the game, gone. One of the best centers in the game, gone. Two of the best corners, gone. Rookie of the year candidate, leading rusher in the NFL, gone. I mean, it's like, bro, like, there's one guy that's left standing. I'm going to knock on wood and not say his name. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of the most important positions on the team, we've got players that are at the top or near the top of the league at their position, and all just gone.
Thankfully, that guy in question, I don't know if it's possible because I don't even want to be jinxing what I was saying, but like they say about him, like if you were to like touch his arm or whatever, it's like steel.
Right.
Like it's I don't want to get myself in trouble on the internet because people always take this the wrong direction, but like they say that about like gorillas and shit. Like their arm, because they have so much more muscle and it's so much tighter that everything feels like steel cables and stuff.
Right. I look.
That's what they say about his body, dude.
I was a massage therapist, and I forget the name of the play, but it's one of the bigger plays that was on tour, and for about 2 weeks, it wasn't Mamma Mia. It was one of the other ones. I forget the name. But anyway, for 2 weeks, I was their massage therapist. And they're all dancers, right?
Mm.
And I mean, I don't care if it was male, female, color, nationality. None of that mattered. Massaging them was like massaging a brick wall. And it might have been an insult to a brick wall. I mean, I'm elbows deep and it ain't budging. I mean, I never felt anything like it in my life. So
they say just as much as he's fast, he's just as much a tank too. Even though he's not huge, they say he's a marvel to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, look, you beat the Patriots, and then you got Kansas City. And if you beat Kansas City, we've got the top seed to the AFC in our hands at the bye. And considering the injuries, you can't ask for. There it goes. You can't ask for more than that. Lose Kansas City, then you start having to just look straight at the division. And I touched on this last night in the recap. It's the physical teams that give us a tough time, and we can win that division. But if we don't have the number one seed and we don't have the bye, you're looking at likely Buffalo, you maybe Cleveland, right? You're looking at some probably the Jets, maybe. You're looking at possible matchups against teams that are physical and tough, and that's where we've had trouble, and especially with missing our guys and everything. But and the whole fans, we didn't blitz a whole lot last night either. I mean, we were getting a little bit of pressure, but that last drive, And I guess we should talk about it. That last freaking drive. It's so demoralizing. We stopped them. It's 4th and 1.5. It don't matter. They're going to get it anyway. With this stupid tush push. We lost your audio. No audio. No audio. On your end. Nope. Trey is gone. Let me see if I can edit your mic set. No, your mic is good. We've lost Trey. Nothing. I hear nothing. Do you hear me? Thumbs up if you hear me. Yeah, we don't hear you. You're gone. Because you can't. I'm gonna take you out and put you back in, and we'll see if it fixes it. Speak. Nope. Gone. Are you? Let's see. We got technical. Yep. Stay tuned for station identification. I don't know we're having a day here. What can you do? Look, I think the thing with the Dolphins is we've got to win one of these. We've got to win one of these road games. We've got to beat the Chiefs, because if you beat the Patriots, and that's not going to be any there's no guarantee we're going to beat the Patriots. They just beat the crap. They beat the Bills, not the crap out of them. But the narrative that we can't beat good teams, and technically Kansas City is a road game, but it's really a road game for everybody. But at least we're not losing a home game. And the toughest game that we have after that is Baltimore, other than our division games, of course. And that's at Baltimore. So when you really look at the schedule, the way it was laid out to be at Kansas City, at Baltimore, at Philadelphia, and that's a lot, man. You're always going to have a home and away with your division games, so you have to put that off to the side. But the fact that we've had the 3 hardest opponents that we're going to face all season that aren't division opponents, and they're all on the road, I didn't really think about that when I was looking at the schedule early on in the season. And now you're realizing it. It's like, we got the one, we got the one primetime game that's going to be against the Jets. That's the day after Thanksgiving. Let's see if I almost called you Stu. Hey, you're back.
Hey.
All right. Yeah, we're good now. So
unbelievable. So I had a phone call in the middle of while you were talking. As soon as you were like, beat the Patriots, and then if we beat Kansas City, I have a fucking phone call come in. Of course, I hit decline on that immediately, but because they want to leave a goddamn voicemail, it still has you muted. So I go to that, block the fucking number without knowing who they are, and then when I get ready to talk, you can't hear me.
Technology is great, man.
Hate it.
Yeah, I get you. So, well, the point I was making while you were gone was that if you take out the Dolphins division games, which are all, you're always going to have a home and away there, the 3 toughest teams we face by far, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Kansas City, all on the road. We don't get any of them at home. And I didn't think about that when I was, when I was looking at the schedule earlier on in the season, but I mean, hell, just winning one of those games would be good, but we're going to need to beat Baltimore too. You know what I mean? If we want the top seed in the AFC, that's it. We're out of losses to top AFC teams. If you want to have that top seed,
and especially if you have that brutal stretch at the end of the season, you're really gonna want that bye week even more. Because even if you are winning those games, you're probably gonna lose some people along the way.
Yeah. Well,
that's what happens in them tough games. Look at the Bills. They beat us, but they lost Trey White.
Right. Yeah. No, the Bills have been dropping like flies.
Win the battle, lose the war. And I'm not saying anything about Trey White about that. Like, it's awful that it happened to him, but that is the war of attrition that goes on over the course of an NFL season.
Right. Yeah.
They lost one of their best linebackers the very next week or 2 weeks later in London against the Jags.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we're stacked at running back. Wilson came back last night. He looked, he had a couple of touches. Ahmed kind of has looked pedestrian since coming back from his injury. He looked good before the injury, but he hasn't really shown a whole lot after. And Mostert, it looked like we were going to get him going in that second half. Started off pretty good, but I mean, we got
Would have
shut
been a
out.
good game to have Chris Brooks, even though he's hurt. It would have been a good game to have Chris
Yeah,
Brooks.
yeah. No, there's no doubt there. So look, it is what it is, man. You know, it's frustrating. Poor Kyle in the stream last night. He's starting to get pissed. You know what I mean? The Buffalo game, this game. I think he's getting sick and tired of losing to these teams. You know what I mean?
I mean, it does. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. I almost did say that,
Right.
but as long as it's not the last game of the year, it really doesn't. Think about last year, right?
Right.
We beat the Bills. Bills were crying because it was in Miami and it's too hot.
Yeah.
And then the last game of the year in Buffalo in the playoffs, 2 feet away or not, they won it. So all that bitching about that loss in September didn't matter. We beat the Bills in the playoffs. This week didn't matter. If the Eagles don't even get to the Super Bowl and we're playing somebody else, this game didn't matter.
Right.
And it goes. I didn't mean to cut you up. It goes on the other foot too. Like, let's say we're talking about all these things. Like, oh, we're hurt. Oh, we're on the road. You know what? And nobody cares, right? Cool.
Right. Yeah.
So if we beat Kansas City, and they're not gonna be able to say, oh, but it was in Germany. Oh, but Travis and Taylor slept in until halftime. Like, no, y'all lost. Oh well, Dolphins won.
Right.
And so it goes on both feet. You just got to get that win. It counts as a win at Kansas City too. God damn it.
Right. Yeah.
Kansas City, Germany.
That whole thing. Well, first thing we got to do is get past the Patriots. You know, they were 1-5, and we were looking like, okay, that's no problem. And then they go and beat Buffalo, and you're like, now I don't know what to think. You know what I mean? Mac Jones has actually looked competent not the last couple of weeks, but he looked competent this past week. But the team, last thing I'll say for this division, the team that has me a little bit concerned, I ain't going to lie, are the Jets, because they played a style of football we really have trouble with. And both times, I mean, what was it? It was 38-10 against the Bills, the one touchdown, right? Was that the score against the Bills that we lost? I think it was
this game.
No, against the Bills.
No, this season. I mean.
Yeah.
I think it was 48-20.
48-20. Okay.
I know we had 20.
It was 38-10 at one point.
The same amount the Broncos did. I think they had 48.
Yeah. But the point being is that the offense has not looked real good against those tougher defenses. And I don't know. We still got to play the Jets twice. We got them on that. And one of them was on that short week, the Friday after Thanksgiving. For some freaking reason, they've decided to do that. And then there's no bye because we already got the bye after Kansas City. So it's the physicality, like you're saying, that stretch at the end. Physicality is going to be important. And man, we got to get our guys back. It's the same thing with the Panthers and the Dolphins. It's like you got to get your guys back, but at least the Dolphins are doing good without their guys. That's all we can say.
They're doing good without their guys at all the games. They've lost 2 games. All the games that they've lost are games not that they should have lost, but respectable, right?
Right.
Would you rather be 5-2 having lost to the Bills and Eagles, or 5-2 and you lost to the Broncos and the Bills
and the Giants? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It counts the same, but it doesn't count the same.
Right.
You feel even worse right now.
Right.
And with that Eagles loss, like you said, that's an NFC team. So the Bills, their 2 losses are not only in the AFC, they're in the division.
Right. So last thing, just curious, your opinion on the tush push.
Oh, right. We were supposed to get to that part.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week. I still think it doesn't make any sense that on one side of the ball it's not safe, but on the other side of the ball it's completely safe when you're doing the same exact thing. If it's not safe for one, it's not safe for the other, and vice versa. You have your lines going into each other like they do every play. Offensive and defensive lines are doing this.
Right.
Your quarterback is behind your center. You have somebody else, tight end, whomever, sandwiching your quarterback into your center.
Right.
And they already say on the other side of the ball, if I take my safety and sandwich my linebacker into my defensive tackle, that might hurt my linebacker.
Right.
Interesting to note that this is the one time they are not looking for the safety of the quarterback.
Interesting. I had not even put it that way. That's a good point.
Go let the quarterback kill himself. That's fine. We got to protect our middle linebackers.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other part. So Eagles fans try to say, because Eagles fans just want it kept just because they're Eagles fans and they want it kept.
Right.
But they try to spin it. They try to spin doctor it. They go, oh, well, other teams can't do it because they don't have Jason Kelsey and they don't have Jalen Hurts squatting 600 pounds.
Right. Right.
They probably don't have other quarterbacks squatting 600 pounds. But again, all those middle linebackers can squat 600 pounds. So if you let the defense do this too, they will stop this every single time. But on top of that, they keep saying Kelsey and Hurts. If they were so important about it, you don't need that third guy pushing Jalen then, do you? What happened to the 600-pound squats?
Right. Yeah.
So none of it makes sense. No one has been able to explain to me a way that the tush push is good and the defensive version of it is not good, and it makes sense to me. It just hasn't happened. Maybe it is. Right. I live in Louisiana, so I'm surrounded by dummies, but I haven't heard a logical explanation yet.
Right. No, look, I'm obvious. I hadn't really seen it a whole lot. And then, of course, yesterday, we get all excited. We stopped them, and then they decide not to punt, and they go for it. And then they kept driving, and they just did it multiple times to us. It's a rugby play. It's not,
it's unsightly.
Right. It's just not. I don't think long-term it's good for the game.
At least the Wildcat was flashy.
At least the Wildcat was fun, but I can, like I said yesterday, I can totally understand, how people might have felt about the Wildcat going, come on, man, that's college. That's high school. We don't do that here.
You did, but at least it wasn't like unsightly. Like that's the thing the league is going to have with this is they're like, this looks like shit on TV.
Yeah.
And as goofy as that sounds, that is going to be the league's problem with it.
Right. Yeah.
But I still think it's not safe. Or it's safe enough for the defense to do it. Either one.
Right.
I'm all or nothing.
I mean, they don't even let the defense take a running start and jump over the line.
That'd be dope if they did that. Like arena football with the receivers.
Yeah, because they don't let them do that for kickoffs or field goals, right?
Yeah,
the guys used to take a running start and leapfrog and go to try to block, and they nixed that, and it was out of player safety. It's like, well, but they have to wait for I'll be shocked if they don't make a rule and disallow that the rest of for next year. What I mean?
It's very interesting that the quarterback is the one being put in harm's way in this.
Yeah. And I hope it doesn't come to him getting hurt for that,
No, not at all.
Because it's going to happen to somebody at some point because it's just not. And,
it can happen to Kelsey. You have two people barreling into the back of Kelsey's legs. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know it sounds like I'm being a salty Dolphin fan, but I saw it a couple times before we played. I was like, that looks stupid. But then in terms of the play on the field and how it affects the flow of the game and everything, it does give the offense an unfair advantage because defense can't really. It's
and there's a little bit of salt to it. Sure, I'll admit that. For any Eagles fans potentially listening to this, if we had stopped it last night, I'd be making fun of y'all, of course, but I would still be saying that it doesn't make sense that it's legal for the offense and not legal for the defense. I would still be saying that. So it's not just salt.
Right. I mean, look, there's ways that, they had to make pick plays illegal. You know what I mean? There's always a loophole that somebody can exploit before the league catches on. I think that's where we are with this. And I think hopefully we don't have to see that in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that just be, because you could
be what gets the league to finally change it. Because like I said, their problem with it is that it looks like shit on television.
Right. You could get a 1st and goal at the 7, maybe even 8, and run that play 4 times and get a touchdown. you know, and that's it's just not good for the game, my opinion, anyway. So, all right, Trey. So 5-2, no big deal. I'm not ready. Kyle was pissed off, but I'm like, you know what? I'll take the 5-2. The Bills lost. We're good to go. But I would watch out. I would watch out for the Jets, man. I don't trust the Jets to not. The teams they're beating, they're beating good teams. They're playing well on defense, and
Rodgers
I
is
mean they
already
were a
walking
Super
around and
Bowl.
throwing.
What's that?
And Rodgers is already walking around and throwing.
Yeah, there's that side of the world that believes in all the conspiracies and all of that. And it's funny because, you got the people, I see people with channels that say everything is scripted. Okay. But I had the thought when it happened with Rodgers, I had the thought of what a storyline that they could write. Because the way he just like stood up and he just kind of like shook his head like, I can't believe I got to do this. And then sat back down. You see where I'm going? And then all of a sudden now it's this miraculous recovery. The 40-year-old man is the one having the miraculous recovery. Things happen in football that make it so that the people that say it's scripted and rigged, you can't completely discount them because things happen where you're like, that doesn't look real good, but it can't be scripted, right? You know what I'm saying?
Despite the fact that I've seen a player have the same injury and have the same reaction, because Kobe was more annoyed than anything when he tore his Achilles, and he still shot the free throws with his Achilles. When he's walking off, he was that same Kobe Bryant Mamba energy. He was just so fucking annoyed that he had to leave the game.
I see.
So I've seen that before.
Okay.
But even with that, yeah, like you said, I can't completely discredit it. I don't think that's the case. But like you said, you can't completely discredit it because it is what it looks like. Right. Because you would think, torn Achilles, you'd have a lot more of a reaction to just being annoyed by it. But technically, I have seen that before.
That's funny. I didn't realize that. So there you go. All right, Dolphin fans, the league is not scripted. You heard it from Trey. But that doesn't mean the refs aren't corrupt. Those are two very different things.
No, the refs is just bad.
Okay.
And here's the worst part. They really are the best at their job. Go watch college games. Go watch high school games. Yeah. They really are the best at their job, even though they're still bad at it.
Right. Yeah. So
sometimes it goes our way, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes, yeah. When Jets fans are on Twitter agreeing with Dolphin fans, something went down. That's all I can say about that.
Just a few weeks after we were doing it with them.
I know it's bad. So, and we won't even get into the Colts and the Browns. I mean, there were teams getting jobbed all over the place yesterday.
The only team that doesn't get jobbed is Kansas City, it seems.
Exactly.
But I'm sure they have stories too that we just didn't.
I know. I'm sure there's at least
their games. Like I'm sure they got stories too.
There's at least once or twice they didn't show what's her face after a touchdown. I'm sure they're pissed off about that.
I love because I don't know who gave her the tickets, the NFL, the Chargers, or something. They gave that super fan Marianne Doe tickets to the Chiefs game. So they're showing her and Taylor. I thought it was great. I would be more of a Marianne Doe super fan if I got to choose one.
Right. Yeah.
I know she's there for the love of the game.
Right. Yeah. You at least know that she's real. The whole Taylor Swift thing is just like, makes me want to throw. I'm wondering how many TVs have been broken throwing things at Taylor Swift in the last few weeks. Cause it's happened somewhere. At least one drunk dude was like, get that bit off my TV. It's happened at least somewhere. So
hey, at least for them, Black Friday's coming up. They can get a TV.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs play. No, that's Dolphins Jets.
We play the Jets on Black Friday.
Black Friday. Yeah.
If you're gonna be really mad at that game, you might need to buy a backup TV.
Yeah. It's a good day to throw the remote. Right. All right, Trey. Appreciate you joining us, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. And
push the subscribe button.
Yeah, push the subscribe button. I like that. We'll end it there.